Okay, so today we're going deep on Maziar Bahari.
Oh, interesting.
Journalist, filmmaker, human rights activist.
Right.
But he's a controversial figure.
Definitely.
So we're going to try and figure out, grifter or
Oh, I
giveaway.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a real deal?
Yeah.
Using his platform to, actually make a difference.
Right.
Or is there something else going on there? So we've got a bunch of stuff to dig into, articles, interviews,
Okay.
even some of his own words.
Cool.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So
Yeah.
his story,
Okay.
it's not exactly a straight line. Born in Iran, ends up in Montreal
Right.
during the Iran-Iraq War.
Wow.
And get this.
Yeah.
His first documentary,
Okay.
it's about a group of German Jewish refugees trying to escape Nazi Germany in 1939.
That's a heavy topic for a first film.
Right.
Yeah.
It's called Voyage of the St. Louis.
Okay.
Follows their desperate search for refuge.
Right.
And they end up being turned away by multiple countries.
Tragic.
It's tough to watch, actually.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think drew him to this story?
Yeah. Early on in his career,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it shows like a sensitivity to injustice and displacement,
Right.
which, those themes become really central to his later work.
Yeah.
But, if we're looking at this like through a cynical lens,
Yeah.
maybe it was a calculated choice.
Oh, interesting.
Right. To align himself with a cause
Yeah.
that would get attention
Okay. Yeah.
and sympathy.
Yeah. Playing it smart right from the beginning.
Right.
Well, it's fascinating how this early work kind of foreshadows where he goes later on, right?
Absolutely.
Especially with like his focus on human rights in Iran.
Right.
But he actually returns to Iran in '98
He does, yeah.
to work as a journalist.
Yeah, he becomes a correspondent for Newsweek,
Right.
reports for other major outlets too, Channel 4, the BBC.
Wow. Busy guy.
Yeah, and he covers like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Iranian football, experiences of journalists in war zones.
Really?
Yeah, clearly not afraid of a little danger.
No, not at all. And we can't forget about his documentaries.
Right.
He produced a whole bunch.
Yeah, on a range of topics.
One was about the HIV positive community in Iran.
That's right.
But
the
most controversial one has got to be And Along Came a Spider.
Oh, yeah, that one's a doozy.
It's about Saeed Hanai, spider killer.
Right, a serial killer who targeted prostitutes in Mashhad.
This is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So Hanai,
Yeah.
he claimed he had religious reasons
What?
for his crimes.
Wow.
And believe it or not,
Okay.
he actually got some support
No way.
from conservative parts of Iranian society.
A serial killer.
Yeah.
Seen as some kind of hero.
Right.
That's chilling.
It's a very complicated situation.
Yeah.
And I have to ask,
Yeah.
what do you make of Bahari's decision to give this guy a platform through his film?
Right.
I mean, was he trying to understand this dark side of Iranian society?
I mean, it could have been a brave attempt to shed light on something really disturbing, right? By giving a voice to Hanai, the victims, the families.
Right.
He's offering a glimpse into this side of Iran that people don't really want to see.
Okay.
But
yeah,
you have to wonder, does giving someone like Hanai a platform, even in a critical way, I mean, could that glorify him?
Yeah.
Or contribute to his notoriety?
It's
a tough question.
It is.
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm honestly struggling with that one.
Yeah.
It's a fine line to walk,
Totally.
You want to understand the motives of a killer,
Right.
but you don't want to legitimize what they did.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance.
It's something every journalist has to grapple with.
Especially in such a sensitive area.
Absolutely.
And speaking of sensitive areas, Bahari himself becomes the story in 2009.
Okay.
He's arrested in Iran.
Wow.
While covering the elections for Newsweek.
Seriously?
Yeah, and here's the crazy part.
What?
The charges against him,
Yeah.
they are partly based on
Okay.
a satirical appearance he made on The Daily Show.
The Daily Show.
I
What?
know, it seems absurd, right?
Totally.
That a comedy show could be used as evidence of espionage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the reality he faced.
Wow.
He spent 118 days
Oh my gosh.
in solitary confinement in Evin prison.
It's awful.
It's hard to imagine what that must have been like.
He describes it in his memoir, Then They Came For Me.
Right.
Talks about the fear, the isolation, the manipulation.
All in there.
Yeah. And they forced him
Oh, no.
to make a televised confession.
Admitting to being a spy?
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
And that confession,
Yeah.
it was later broadcast on Iran's press TV.
Wow, adding insult to injury.
Right.
Yeah, it makes you think about the role of the media.
In these situations.
Absolutely.
And how far authoritarian regimes will go.
To control the narrative.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Totally.
His ordeal really highlights the dangers that journalists face.
Absolutely.
Especially when reporting on these regimes that are hostile to a free press.
For sure.
So we've got this early career with a focus on human rights issues.
Right.
And then this incredibly traumatic experience that puts him in the global spotlight.
And this is where the debate about his motives really heats up.
It does, because after he's released, he becomes this outspoken human rights advocate.
Okay.
He speaks out against the persecution of the Baha'i community in Iran.
Right.
He even becomes a digital ambassador for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
Interesting.
Drawing parallels between the Holocaust and other genocides.
Okay.
So it's this shift, right, from journalist to advocate. That makes people question, is he really committed?
Yeah.
Or is he using his platform to,
further his career, build his image?
It's a really good question.
It is.
And to really understand where Bahari stands, we need to go deeper.
Let's do it.
Into his work.
Okay.
And the criticism surrounding it.
Okay. Okay, so we're talking about Bahari's move from journalist to advocate.
Yeah. And is it genuine, or is it all just for show?
Exactly.
Let's start with the Baha'i community in Iran.
Okay.
For those who don't know, the Baha'i faith, it's all about unity, equality, nonviolence.
Sounds pretty harmless.
Right.
Yeah.
But they've faced a ton of persecution in Iran.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
They're often denied basic rights and freedoms.
Wow.
And Bahari's been super vocal about this.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. Calling for international pressure on the Iranian government.
To do what?
To protect the Baha'i community.
Okay.
To make sure they have equal rights. He even wrote this article.
What was it called?
Ask the Iranians about their Baha'i citizens.
Pointed.
It is, right.
Yeah.
Directly challenging the government's narrative.
Which is?
That the Baha'i are treated fairly.
Okay, so he's saying
they're targeted for their beliefs.
Yeah.
Which clash with, the theocratic rule in Iran.
That's a bold move.
It is, especially considering his history.
Yeah, with the regime.
Right. But is it genuine concern?
Or is it a strategy?
Right. Some critics say it's a way to
what?
Garner Western sympathy.
Okay.
And cement his image.
As a victim.
Right.
It's true that the persecution of the Baha'i, it definitely resonates with Western audiences.
Yeah, who value religious freedom.
Right, exactly.
But maybe he actually believes in this cause.
Maybe.
It's hard to know for sure.
Yeah.
What evidence do these critics have?
To support their claim.
Yeah, of strategic maneuvering.
I mean, it's more of an interpretation of his actions than concrete evidence.
I see.
They point to his decision to align himself with this cause that's widely condemned in Iran.
Okay.
Suggesting that it might be a way to distance himself from criticism of his past work.
You're talking about the Spider Killer documentary.
Exactly.
Right.
By championing this cause, he's choosing sides. In a very contentious, religious and political landscape.
So is he seeking justice for the Baha'i?
Or controlling his own narrative?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It really is.
And then there's his role as a digital ambassador for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
It seems like, a natural progression from his human rights work.
Right, he's drawing parallels between the Holocaust and other instances of genocide.
Right, including the persecution of the Baha'i. He's saying that education is the best way to fight prejudice.
Okay, that aligns with the museum's mission.
It does, but some critics have concerns about the comparisons he's making.
Like what?
Like comparing the Holocaust
to
the persecution of the Baha'i.
Okay.
They say the scale is completely different.
Yeah, millions of victims in the Holocaust.
Right, and while the Baha'i have suffered terribly, it hasn't been on that level.
Right, so they're saying
he's trivializing the Holocaust and distracting from the horrors that Jewish people faced.
That's a serious accusation.
It is.
So is he raising awareness?
Or is he trying to gain sympathy?
Are these criticisms valid?
Right.
Or are they attacks on his message?
It's tough to say.
It really is.
I think we have to acknowledge
Right.
that Bahari is working within this Western media system
Yeah.
that loves personal stories and sensationalism.
And that shapes how his work is seen.
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of how his work is presented, let's talk about Rosewater.
Right. The film based on his memoir.
Yeah, directed by Jon Stewart.
From The Daily Show.
Right.
The title comes from the scent.
Yeah, his interrogator's cologne.
Which became, like...
Of his captivity.
Of his torment.
Right.
The film's gotten praise for its portrayal of Evan Prison.
But it's also gotten some criticism.
Like what?
Some say it simplifies his experience and romanticizes it.
In what way?
Focusing more on the psychological stuff.
Okay.
And downplaying the physical torture.
Is that an artistic choice?
Or something more deliberate?
To make the Iranian regime look better?
Maybe. It's a good question.
How much control did Bahari have over the firm's narrative?
Yeah, was he using it to amplify his message?
Or was it more about his image?
That line between genuine advocate and opportunist.
Yeah.
It gets blurrier and blurrier.
It does. And we see this in other projects, too. Like Paint the Change.
What's that?
His public art initiative in the UK.
What does it involve?
Creating these murals, celebrating different faiths and cultures.
Okay. Sounds positive.
It is, but there's been controversy about for funding.
Okay.
They use public money. Some people are saying taxpayer money shouldn't be used for art.
That promotes religious viewpoints.
Especially in the UK.
Which has a separation of church and state.
Right.
It's a valid point.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line between promoting tolerance
and endorsing certain faiths?
and public funds?
That's tricky.
And some argue the murals, they oversimplify things.
Okay.
They might actually reinforce stereotypes.
Instead of breaking them down.
Exactly.
So where does this leave us with Maziar Bahari?
Yeah. Is he truly dedicated to good?
Or is it all just a calculated act?
Okay, so we've gone through like the highs and lows of Bahari's career.
We've seen it all.
The imprisonment, the advocacy, the documentaries, the art.
It's been a journey.
So now...
And the big question.
The one we've been building up to.
Grifter or gifted?
It's not an easy question.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We've looked at everything.
We've tried to be objective.
Weighed the arguments, considered the complexities. In the end, it comes down to interpretation.
I think one thing's for sure, though.
What's that?
The guy's got courage.
Oh, absolutely.
He faced a brutal regime.
Yeah.
Went through like...
unthinkable hardship.
Yeah, fighting for what he believes in.
Right.
And he put himself at risk.
Over and over.
Going back to Iran.
When he knew it was dangerous.
Exactly.
And his work has definitely brought attention to important issues.
Absolutely.
He's given a voice to people who wouldn't have one otherwise.
He's a storyteller.
Yeah, good one.
Using his platform to
expose the bad stuff.
The oppression.
The people in power who abuse it.
That doesn't sound like a grifter.
Not really.
But there's the other side.
It's self-promotion. Yeah. It's always there.
Aligning himself with causes that will get attention.
Playing to the Western audience.
Maybe exaggerating some things.
Making money off his fame.
So is he manipulating the system?
I mean, it's not that simple.
No.
He's working within a system that rewards that kind of behavior.
Okay, so he's playing the game.
To get his message across.
Does that make him a grifter?
That's up to you to decide.
I think the important thing is to be critical.
Of everything you see and hear.
Not just with Bahari.
With any public figure.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Dig deeper.
Look for the evidence.
Form your own conclusions.
That's what this whole deep dive has been about.
Encouraging people to think for themselves.
To question things.
But really engage with these complicated issues.
Because in this world, with so much information, it's more important than ever.
To be careful.
To figure out what's real and what's not.
To separate the grift from the gift.
Exactly.
The hype from the heart.
So, what do you think about Maziar Bahari?
Advocate or opportunist?
We've given you the facts.
But the final judgment?
It's yours.
We hope this has given you the tools to decide.
And to apply that same thinking.
To everything you encounter.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Stay curious, stay informed.
And keep questioning.
Always.